This is the case of Maria Alexandrovna Petrova, otherwise known as the Zyuzino Maniac, who is a serial killer from Moscow, driven by a disdain hatred of men. In the spring of 2002, a wave of inexplicable violence swept through the typically quiet Moscow neighborhood of Zyuzino. Behind the seemingly random knife attacks on unsuspecting men stood an unlikely perpetrator. A 24-year-old physical education teacher named Maria Alexandrovna Petrova. What followed was a case that shocked the nation and continues to stir debate over mental illness, justice, and gendered violence in Russia. Born on May 15, 1978, in Moscow, Russia, Maria Petrova grew up in what neighbors described as a typical Soviet household. From a young age, however, she exhibited behaviors that concerned those around her. She was quiet, reserved, and socially distant. Her imposing physical appearance, tall, athletic, and strong, stood in stark contrast to her inward personality. At some point in her early life, Petrova was diagnosed with schizotypal personality disorder, a condition marked by eccentric thoughts, severe social anxiety, and distorted perceptions. This diagnosis would come to define much of her adult experience. Despite these challenges, she pursued a career in physical education and worked as both a PE teacher at a technical college and a gym coach. Though she functioned outwardly as a productive member of society, Petrova's internal world was chaotic. She later claimed she had been raped during her teenage years and sexually harassed by an older male superior in one of her jobs. These events, she said, sparked an irreversible psychological descent marked by deep resentment, particularly towards men. In March 2002, Petrova's inner turmoil spilled over into the public sphere in terrifying fashion. On March 1st, she attacked Sergei Makarev, a 20-year-old man, stabbing him twice in what appeared to be an unprovoked assault. During police questioning, Petrova claimed Makarev had made inappropriate advances toward her. However, witnesses found no evidence of this behavior, and Makarev himself had never spoken to her. The attack raised eyebrows but was treated as an isolated incident until things escalated dramatically. On March 27th, Petrova struck again, this time with lethal results. She approached 60-year-old Nikolai Zobin near the Zyuzino metro station and slit his throat in broad daylight. As before, the attack seemed random, and no connection was established between Petrova and the victim. These were not frenzied outbursts. Petrova had a meticulously crafted method. She dressed as a jogger, hiding a kitchen knife in her sleeve, and wandered the neighborhood until she selected a target. She chose public spaces in broad daylight and easy escape routes. Her persona as a fitness enthusiast allowed her to blend in seamlessly. She didn't run from scenes immediately, sometimes even walking calmly past bystanders. In the following weeks, she attempted 3 additional murders, though only 2 murders and 3 attempted murders were formally confirmed. Investigators believe there may have been more near misses or unreported incidents. The randomness of her attacks created a climate of fear, particularly among men, who were unused to being targets of such violence in Russia. On April 23, 2002, Maria Petrova was arrested in a scenario almost as surreal as her crimes. A rookie police cadet noticed a woman with blood-stained sneakers and erratic behavior in the area near a recent attack. His instincts told him something was off, and he followed her discreetly to her residence before calling in support. Upon her arrest, Petrova immediately confessed to the attacks. She spoke candidly during interrogations, describing her actions as a form of retribution against men. She claimed society had repeatedly wronged her and that she was carrying out justice in her own way. Her honesty shocked officers, who were struck by her lack of remorse and her bizarre mix of logic and delusion. Despite her detailed confession and the weight of the evidence, Maria Petrova never stood a conventional criminal trial. Instead, she was subjected to an extensive psychiatric evaluation, which concluded that she was insane at the time of the crimes. Experts determined that she suffered from a severe psychiatric disorder that rendered her incapable of understanding the moral and legal weight of her actions. As a result, she was not imprisoned but sent to Psychiatric Hospital No. 5 in Moscow for compulsory treatment. Her status as criminally insane drew mixed reactions. Survivors and the families of the victims were furious. They felt justice had been denied. But the court followed protocol based on medical testimony, and Petrova's fate was sealed: indefinite psychiatric care in a secure facility. Initially, Petrova was held in solitary confinement under constant observation. Over time, as she showed signs of stabilization, she was moved to a shared ward and later allowed to engage in recreational and athletic activities. She reportedly organized sporting events for fellow patients and earned the respect of some hospital staff for her discipline and knowledge of physical fitness. Petrova even expressed a desire to return to normal life and asked for permission to work in a less restrictive setting. In 2018, she was downgraded from high-security supervision due to a prolonged period without violent episodes. But these improvements would not last. In September 2024, Petrova attempted a violent escape from the facility. Investigators later discovered that she had been plotting for months to leave the hospital and seek revenge against one of the original investigators who helped capture her in 2002. The revelation was horrifying to the public and the psychiatric community alike. It proved that Petrova had not been rehabilitated, only temporarily subdued. She was swiftly transferred to a high-security psychiatric hospital in Kazan, where she remains under maximum surveillance and has been reclassified as socially dangerous. Staff reports noted that she had become increasingly erratic in the weeks leading up to the escape attempt, experiencing violent outbursts and delusions. Medical experts now say that her earlier signs of recovery were either deceptive or temporary. Petrova consistently framed her actions as an act of gendered vengeance. She believed she was righting the wrongs inflicted on her by a patriarchal society. Though her victims were strangers, she viewed them as symbolic of the men who had violated her. Maria Petrova remains one of Russia's most disturbing and high-profile female criminals. Nicknamed the Zyuzino Maniac, she shattered societal expectations about gender and violence. Female killers are rare in Russian criminal history, and even rarer are those who target men exclusively. To this day, she resides in a high-security psychiatric facility watched closely by those who know how dangerous she can be. The shadow she cast over Zyuzino still lingers, a chilling reminder that monsters don't always look like monsters. Sometimes, they jog past you in the morning light. Thanks for watching.